So you're out there searching and searching for houses, house after house, and you can't find one.
What about building?
Hello everyone, I am DeLynn Gaston and you are watching Moving Forward TV. And normally Barry Horvath introduces the show and introduces our guests and such, but today Barry couldn't be with us, so I have my dear friend and who has agreed to be voluntold, my co-host for the times that Barry can't be here, Gigi D from Dynamic Title. Thanks, Gigi.
Thank you
for joining us.
I'm not Barry.
I know. We're signed,
Yes.
hold up a sign,
Yeah.
not Barry. So Gigi is with Dynamic Title. Dynamic Title, of course, is a local title company here. Very good reputation, well known in the community, as is Gigi. Everybody knows Gigi D. She introduces herself at a lot of places as the Duchess of Dirt, which I just think is awesome. When it comes to, right, isn't that your
It was a
language?
nickname given to me, yes.
Yes, when it
was.
comes to dirt, see Gigi,
Yes,
right?
I'm in. I'm in.
So today, Gigi, what are we going to discuss today?
How about new home construction?
Right. There's so many, it's kind of weird out there. It's, I know you've been doing this for a long, long time. I've been doing this for a long, long time. I've never seen an industry, the market like this. It's just, and everybody I talk to, every realtor out there, consumers, nobody has ever seen anything like this.
Exactly.
So a lot of people are saying, they're trying, contract after contract after contract on houses, and there's just not enough houses. It's gone, within the first hour it's on the market and such. So a lot of people are thinking, well, maybe I'll just build. Well, actually a couple of things I've been hearing. Maybe I'll just buy one of those, manufactured homes and put it on a piece of land that my uncle is giving to me, right? I mean, we have some of that going on. So let's talk about if somebody does choose an option to either move a manufactured home or build a house.
Right. Well, first of all, you got to find the lot. That's the most important part, because that has to do with what kind of loan you're going to be able to get and what kind of survey you're going to need. There's several different surveys during a building. Until you get to the as-built survey, it is just like the dirt.
It's just the dirt.
But there's a lot of different things.
So is that step one, if you're going to be doing that, is get a survey? Because the other thing you have to kind of make sure that the house is going to fit on this piece of land. There's certain setbacks.
Exactly, but really, truthfully, the first thing that you need to do is find the lot, because if you find the lot and you decide you're going to build on that lot, that has a lot to do with who's going to be able to build for you, what kind of loan you're going to be able to use, what your lender is going to be able to do for you. So some lenders out there don't do construction perms.
Right.
Fortunately, you do, DeLynn, and that's something that's very important. You have to figure out whether you're going to buy an end product or if you're going to do a construction perm transaction. Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into that. And the difference between
those two, you want to explain that real quick, Gigi?
Yes. Well, a finished product is when you do a regular loan. It's a
buying the house directly from the builder.
Yes.
You work with him.
Right.
He's already constructed it on the piece of land and everything, and then it's just,
it's the difference.
You walk in and you buy the house.
Yes, it's the difference between doing like a cookie cutter home or having a custom built home.
There you go.
So that's kind of the way to describe it. But the reason why I say find the lot before you find the loan, which 99% of the time you find the loan before you find the lot or the house or anything, is because if you need to figure out which way you're going to go. There's a whole lot built into, if you're going to buy with a builder that actually owns the lot, they build into their price the priming of that lot, because it's not just,
Right.
it's impact fees, it's well and septic, is the lot going to
Right.
perk? Do you have to have a leach field if you're going to have a well and a septic?
Right.
All these different things come into factor. And fill dirt, oh my God, you can have trucks and trucks and trucks if you own your own lot and need to go
Right.
and put more dirt onto that to be able to even start putting.
So it's funny because people really think that, oh, just a piece of cake,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I can't find a house, I'm just going to build a house. And just to touch on that a little bit from the lending standpoint, so yes, the very first place you do start is when you're even thinking about buying a house, of course, is with a lender, because you want to make sure you can afford it, right?
Yes.
That's step one. Let's make sure we can afford what we want to do. So that's step one. And then, as Gigi said, then there's two different kinds when it comes to building. Either you're buying it directly from the builder, and he already, like Gigi said, he's already owns the lot. He's building one of his cookie cutter houses. Generally, you have like 4 different like styles you can choose from or something, and you get to pick your carpet color or your flooring color and your kitchen cabinets colors and things like that. And so it is customized to you, but it's already his. So that's called an end loan. That's just a regular mortgage, okay? We just call that, okay, once the whole thing is done, the builder's going to sell you the whole package back. That's just called an end loan, piece of cake. Any lender can do that. Any mortgage lender, bank, lending institution, me, can do that. Part 2, and the one that's a little bit more challenging, but people seem to think it's easier, but it's not, would be, the thing where, okay, I'm going to go find a piece of land and just have a house built. Makes it sound real easy, but Gigi's going to tell us about all of the factors that go into that.
Exactly. Well, not just that, but the difference between a construction perm transaction and buying the end result.
Right, that's the one we call a construction perm, because
Right.
it's a construction loan.
Correct. Yep.
And it's going to turn into a permanent loan after the house is built.
Right. So what happens with that is you do a loan in the very first place to either pay for your lot and pay for your 10% down to the builder, or you that's what gets the ball started, so to speak. If you already own your lot, then you're just getting the construction perm going with paying the 10% down to the builder, or whatever they're requiring these days. It just depends. Every builder's different. Every subdivision's different. One of those things, too, even before we even start that, is find out about the HOA, what you're going to be required. If you own a business and you have a commercial vehicle that has anything other than a magnet on it
Right.
that you can take off.
It says GGD, dynamic title,
Exactly.
on the side of your car.
Right. So I live in a homeowners association that restricts people that have commercial vehicles. Mine's not really a commercial vehicle until I put my notary 727-945-9669 on there. But for the most part, you need to make sure that if you have a truck that's going to be lettered, that you're allowed to park it in your
Right.
in your subdivision or in your garage or whatever you need to do. So that might be something you need to think about too. If you're doing a custom home, make your garage big enough to fit that truck in. So
That's right.
those are things that are real important. But the construction perm, it's like when you first are paying for interest on the amount that's dispersed of that loan only. So as the house gets bigger, so does the amount of money that you're going to be paying on that transaction. Right. So you could have a fixed rate, but it might be adjustable during the construction perm. So those are things that come into factors when you're trying to figure out which way that you're going to go. All of this is prep work. So until you're actually...
And who does the prep work?
You do.
You do.
I mean, you do. You most certainly need to make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into. Right now, you get a notice of commencement that you sign at closing when you do the first portion of the loan, which I call closing number 1, because you could do 3, actually. 3 closings. You could buy the lot, and then you turn around, and now you're going to do closing number 2 to start the construction perm transaction. And then closing number 3 is to finish up the thing at the end where you actually modify into a fixed rate.
Right.
So those are the things that you run into. Then you meet with your builder prior to this to get your contract with your builder. So you not only have the contract for the purchase of the lot, but now you have one that also includes the builder's contract. That's how they're building the house for you, bedrooms, baths. Where do your jacks go for your modems, and where do your light switches, where do you need those? Are you going to have a hot tub? If you are, you need more than just what is it, 110? You need a 220 or whatever color the electric is. I don't know, but
reminds me of that movie, Mr. Mom. Remember? When
oh yeah,
he's trying to be 220, 221, whatever it takes.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So,
I don't build them; I just close them. So.
But you do bring up a good point. Also, with when you were talking about a couple of things. So first you buy the lot, and of course before you buy the lot you're probably going to want to talk to a builder, because again the county has certain setbacks. So let's say you're not buying in a subdivision, you have this piece of lot that maybe your uncle just willed to you or something like that, or is going to give gift over to you. So you have this piece of land. Well, is it buildable? Right? Am I allowed to build on it? And if so, per the county, how much am I allowed to build on it? Right? What size footprint can the house be? So they probably need to, before I bought that piece of land, whether it's from uncle or whether it's from just, somebody selling a piece of land, you're really going to want to check out and see, how much house can I build? Now, who would they do that? Probably with the real estate agent, and most of our audience here, of course, is realtors, so they would probably know this already, but I'm talking to consumers right now, so check with your realtor, I would say, and a builder. Get with a builder, whatever builder you choose to build your house, to make sure that he can work within that, right?
Exactly.
The other point that you brought up that I thought was really good was you mentioned something like you might have to bring in dirt.
Oh my gosh, yes. I've done a lot of transactions where they've actually come up with 10, 15 trucks that they needed just to be able to prime the lot in the first place, and that cost a lot of money. And I think they do it a little different now. I'm not positive. I do signings for a new home building right now, but sometimes at the end, at that modification, at the very end, is where you end up paying for all these extra change orders or fill dirt and stuff like that. And there are like 15 trucks at $150 a truck for dirt. It adds up. So you don't want surprises like that. The other thing that you mentioned is, okay, Uncle Harry gave me this lot and he had a mobile home on it. Right. You have to, number one, have the title to that mobile home to be able to demolish it or remove it from that property. So that's a good point right there. And if Uncle Harry already did have sewer hooked up, or electric hooked up, then your impact fees aren't going to be as bad. And DeLynn and I were just going to check with a friend of ours to find out about impact fees, who just recently built a house on her own lot.
Because those could vary.
A lot, and they're very expensive right now. I mean, I'm not positive
and that's something
about
that changes, if I'm not mistaken, county to county, right?
It does.
And, we're here in Pasco County, so most of our business is here. But we do stuff in Pinellas County, Hillsborough Counties, Hernando County, and I believe it's different for
and it might even change for the millage rate for that area. I'm not positive. That would be probably something you would check with the building department,
But again, if Uncle Harry willed you a piece of land, or just you drive by, River Road, there's that piece of land that's for sale right there. I see it all the time. And that's something that people are going to want to obviously check out ahead of time to make sure.
Right. Well, one of the biggest things when you're dealing with that builder, though, is to make sure that you include every light socket that you want on that room. Because what's going to happen is all of a sudden you're 3/4 of the way through and you decide, oh gosh, we want the television over there, not over there. It is going to cost you big bucks to have everything changed. So make sure that when you meet with your builder and you meet with your color girl or whatever, because they pick out the colors like you had mentioned, stuff like that, you want to make sure that everything is where you want it to be, because those change orders not only cost extra for the change order itself, but also now your plans don't have that jack there. Your plans don't have that electrical outlet there, or that 220 line that you need for your spa that you want to put on this side of the house instead of that side of the house. So those are things that are really important. Waterfall for the pool, it sometimes needs something different. But that's one of my points, is to make sure that you get everything up front. If not, make sure that you're willing to pay for it. If you really want that change, it's important to take care of that. One of the things that happened you close the very first thing. The second one, you get your loan and do the first draw to the builder, and that notice of commencement that you sign. Until that notice of commencement is terminated, meaning you're finished, the certificate of occupancy is exactly, the house is completed. That house that property is yours, but if it's your lot that you bought, but if it's not, it really doesn't belong to you yet. So I've had a lot of people call me up and say, Gigi, I stopped by the house the other night and the guy was smoking pot in my house. And I'm like, well, I said, that really isn't good. I get it, but, and was he painting? Well, how does the paint look? Does it, is it okay? So you're not in trouble for what happens on that property during the time that the builder has a notice of commencement recorded of record, because he's the one that's in charge there. So your liability because somebody fell over a brick because they weren't paying attention while they were doing something, their workman's compensation for the builder will take care of stuff like that.
And that's a really good point, too, that we probably should tell people about, Gigi. Who is liable? So again, so we're talking about, you have this piece of land and you want to build the house and you've got a builder, working on it, and they're coming in and they put the dirt in already. We talked about the 15 trucks of dirt. So they put the dirt in already, and they've maybe excavated, taken out the trees that needed, and they've put the foundation down and such, and they're starting to build and everything. Who's liable?
Well, that's kind of an attorney question, but all I know is that when you sign that notice of commencement, you're putting the world on notice, not just because of the work that's being done, but let's say the guy that's supplying the paint. Right. He's going to turn around and he's going to give it to the builder to paint the wall, okay? So what happens after that is, how does he get paid? That goes into the construction perm phase again. What happens before the builder can get his next draw, the lender is going to contact the title agency and going to say, hey, we're getting ready to send the builder the next draw. So you look at the title to the property to make sure there's no liens against that property at that point. Because if the guy that supplied the cement didn't get his pay before they're ready for the next phase, and there is a draw schedule in a construction perm transaction too that shows you this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, and then that's how they get their draws. So once this part's completed, they check with the title company, make sure there's no liens or judgments against the property, and then they issue the draw to the builder. Now he can continue to build the house. So if there was a lien and the cement guy didn't get his money, then they will most certainly make sure that cement guy gets his money before the construction perm money is dispersed to the builder.
So really, the title company is your partner. You're partnering with the builder and you're partnering with the title company, because they're stepping in every step of the way to make sure that everybody's paid. It's funny you say that, because just as a really quick side note, many, many, many years ago, I built a house. When I was in my 20s, I had a house built, and this was up north, and the builder was building his house at the same time he was building my house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that
I know
was
where you're
fun.
going.
Well, guess what happened? So the builder was using my money from my lender to pay for the materials and such on his house. So in the end, I had liens up the wazoo on my house, and it was 7 years in court.
Wow.
7 years in court that we were going round robin with this builder.
So there you go with the liability issue. What do? Do you turn around and that's why these are checked all the way through the construction loan process.
Right.
So
and I don't think it was clearly, and this was, like I said, this was in the 80s, so this was way, way back.
Yeah, it was way different in the 90s when I started. There was a lot of builders that were doing their thing, and different builders, and every builder is different too. So how they're going to do something is going to be different than the other builder, and the bank is going to do something than the other bank did.
And you know what? And that's an excellent point, Gigi. It's not just like a cookie cutter slam dunk. This is exactly the way construction is done.
Exactly.
No, every builder is different. Every lender is different. Every lot is different.
Yep, and every inspector is different. The county's going to check you out too.
Right.
But I'm not sure, and this might be a good question for maybe even a realtor or a home inspector for your next class or whatever,
Right.
Can you have your own inspector go in there and check the joint out while it's being built, know?
Right.
So that would be another thing that we would maybe want to find out about home building at this point. But
So
as far as impact goes, and put that on
Right.
our list,
I know.
So, but the other thing too, you get a title policy when you purchase your property in the first place. If you're buying a lot, it's separate. If you're buying a lot with the house, everything's included at the same time. And the value of that policy goes up as your house goes up. Like we were talking about, when the draw comes and the guy gets more money and the house gets bigger, well, then more of that is dispersed as far as, monetarily what your policy is worth at that time. Now, when you own your own lot, you also would want to get a simultaneous issue for the improvement of that property at the same time. It's just a little bit more because a simultaneous issue is a discounted rate at the same time that you're required to buy that mortgagee policy for the mortgage company. So at that time, if you want to make sure that your house is covered and you don't, somebody comes and knocks on your door someday and says, hey, thanks for putting this beautiful house on my lot. And now you only have, $30,000 worth of coverage. Well, wait a minute. This is 2022, so maybe you only have $100,000 worth of coverage. So
Clearly not enough.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, which, by the way, they were talking yesterday, 72% house
Increase.
increase.
Right.
That's
in the last 5
incredible.
years in
Yeah.
Pasco County, 72% housing price.
72.9 or something
Yeah.
they were saying. And sorry, off topic. But,
We squirrel.
yeah, it's what we do. Speaking of squirreling, so that policy goes up as your value of your property goes up.
And tell real quick, what does the policy protect people?
Well, that somebody does knock on your door and say,
This is my land.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have breakfast with you this morning, So it protects you as the owner of the property, that you are the only owner of that property, that nobody else can come and knock on your door or put their key in and say, here, I'm here. You don't share the ownership with somebody that may have not signed a deed in the past. You're covered no matter what, as long as you have that policy. If the guy in between you, who owns the house now, and the guy before you, who took a quitclaim deed from this guy before him that had the title policy, this poor guy, he's the sap that's going to get, attacked, because that protects your ownership to the property. It's a one-time charge. You pay for it one time, unless you're doing a construction perm and own your
it's
lot
going
and then want to buy some more coverage.
And normally, is that all included in the cost, in the first cost, or is this something that people have to pay, every, 30 days or 60 days when the builder's asking for another draw? Do they then pay you again?
No.
It's all done at one time?
It's all done at one time.
Okay, that's good.
Unless you are purchasing your property separate. You might only have that $100,000 policy on the lot. So then you would pay additional to get additional coverage for the house that you're putting up there.
Okay.
So say you're putting a $400,000 house on a $100,000 property, you get the $400,000 as the simultaneous issue at the same time you're getting the mortgage, so now you have $500,000 worth of coverage for that $500,000.
So that also means then during that construction period, if somewhere along the line the window guy says, the guy who put the windows in, I never got paid or whatever, your policy kind of and he puts a lien on the property, doesn't your policy cover you from things like that?
Well, actually, in that situation, there's something called a pending disbursement clause, which, yes, the value of your policy does go up. But if there would be a total title default at that time, then you are only covered for the amount of what was, how big your house is at that time. So,
Yeah, there you go.
As far as the lien on the property, that's the job of the mortgage company, that's the job of the title agency to make sure that that lien is off that property before we go forward. The notice of commencement when it's finished, we better get to CO quick here. The title policy, when it's finished, is worth the full value of that policy. So when you paid for it up front, it's only one-time charge, okay? And the same with the mortgage policy. It now is for the full value of that $450,000
Right.
loan that you had. So when you get the CO, before this builder signs off on his contractor's affidavit and we record the termination of that notice of commencement, that's when everybody is saying, hey, I've been paid, you've been paid, everybody's been paid. That's what that affidavit for the contractor is recorded with that termination.
And do normally all of the subcontractors, like the window guy and the paint guy and all that, do they all sign
Well,
that too, sign off on that
no,
saying,
that's-
I've been paid?
That's
No?
the responsibility of the general contractor in the very
There you-
first place.
Which is why, another good point, so, you know, and the whole reason that Gigi and I decided to talk about this today is because the market is hard right now. We understand buying an existing house is a little bit difficult right now, challenging. We'll say the word challenging. And some people are saying, how about if I just get I'm getting that a lot. How about if I just get a piece of land and build a house? People don't realize what goes into it.
Exactly.
So a lot goes into it, and we just kind of wanted to give a heads up. And we know that you, our realtor partners out there, you guys already know this, you know, but a lot of your clients do not. So, you know, by all means, please share this show with them. So, Gigi, thank you so much. This
Sure.
has been good. Do we have any final thoughts?
I do. Just a couple of things. When you, again, don't forget about that HOA. That's very important because I'm going to use the word my factor, is you need to make sure that everything's taken care of.
Right.
And you're going to get your keys, your key fobs. One of the things with the keys, just a quick reminder, is most of these construction transactions, they have subcontractors. Everybody can get in your house with that same lock. So you go a couple of different times with that key, and now all of a sudden nobody can get in their house except for you who have the final keys to that property.
Oh, that's interesting.
So yeah, and ignorance is not bliss. Find out what's going on, get every single one of your change orders in writing, and find out what it's going to cost you to do that. Because you don't want to find out, you know, at the end that you have an extra 10 grand that you have to come up with at closing for that final modification to change your loan from the construction perm to a permanent loan.
You know, I'm thinking, Gigi, it would be a really good idea, maybe another show where we do, like you said, have one of our realtor partners come on too and talk about that. And then kind of like, you know, I can do from the lending side, from the buying side, or maybe a contractor come on.
Well,
that would be kind of cool too.
Yeah, well, we did one of
They're
those smart
busy
lunches.
right now, but
So 13 seconds. Smart lunch, we did it where this guy starts it, this guy finishes it, this guy does.
There you
We
go.
did like from A to Z. So
yeah,
that might be
would
something
be
we
good.
could do too.
Anyway, we appreciate you guys watching. Share us, like us, get this out if you learned something new. Send it out to your clients. Send it out to other realtors. We appreciate you guys. We are Today and Every Day.
Moving forward.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.